On September 8, 1995, appellant and Morris Williams were on Wilmington Avenue in a black Chevrolet Beretta when Greg shot at them. Williams and appellant were members of the Palmer Blocc Crips. They believed Greg was a member of a rival gang, the Cedar Blocc Pirus gang. At approximately 6:30 p.m. that evening, appellant and Williams returned to the same neighborhood where the shooting had occurred. Williams drove the Beretta. Appellant, who was in the passenger seat, carried a loaded AK47 type assault weapon. At that time, Bernard Thomas had gone to visit his girlfriend, Bonija Fair, who lived at 634 Poplar Street, Compton. Accompanying Thomas was his friend, Garland Robinson. Thomas and Robinson had driven in an Oldsmobile Cutlass to visit Fair. They parked the Cutlass on the south side of Poplar Street. Robinson stayed in the car, sitting in the front passenger seat. Thomas got out of the Cutlass and sat on the passenger side of its front hood. Fair saw Thomas and Robinson arrive. She walked toward them and stood near the Cutlass, facing Thomas. Fair stood about a foot away from Thomas. Williams drove the Beretta by Thomas, Robinson and Fair. Appellant fired out of the passenger window 4 or 5 times towards Thomas, Robinson and Fair. Thomas was hit on his right side. Fair was struck in the right side of her back. She subsequently died from the wounds she received. Robinson, who had been leaning down, turning dials on the radio, was unhurt. Compton police officer Jose Velasco and his partner officer Robert Labargue were in the area. They heard gunshots and saw the Beretta speeding. The Beretta's driver's wing window was shattered. Appellant and another black male were inside. As the Beretta raced away, it ran a stop sign, spun around and changed directions. Appellant threw an AK-47 style assault weapon out the passenger's window. The officers stopped, retrieved the weapon, and then continued to follow the Beretta. Appellant and Williams exited the Beretta and ran. Williams was not located. With the assistance of a police helicopter, appellant was found under a van. Appellant resisted arrest. A number of officers forced appellant to the ground. Appellant continued to resist, kicking his feet and moving his arms. An officer hit appellant with a baton. Eventually, appellant was subdued and arrested. While being escorted to the police car, appellant made a statement to Officer Velasco. Appellant admitted throwing the weapon out of the car, but stated he had not done the shooting. Appellant said that earlier in the evening, he and Morris Williams had been involved in a confrontation with some Cedar Blocc Pirus gang members. At the police station, appellant spoke with Detective David Smith and other officers. After being read his rights, appellant gave a videotaped interview, which was played to the jury. During this videotaped interview, appellant said the officers had not promised him anything for making the statement, nor had they threatened him. He also stated the following. The shooting was a payback. He was sitting in the passenger seat of the Beretta, which was being driven by Williams, when Greg shot at them, blowing out some windows. Williams left and then brought back to the Beretta an AK-47. He and Williams then went looking for Greg. He was in the passenger seat. They saw Greg, 2 other men and a girl, and we shot them. Greg tried to take my life shooting at me. They shot at us, so we were going to shoot at them. 3 As they raced away in the Beretta, appellant tossed the weapon out of the car. Appellant answered yep in response to the question, "Who shot you?" With his hand, appellant demonstrated how he pulled the trigger a number of times. Appellant identified Williams in a photographic lineup. Appellant also admitted he was a member of the Palmer Blocc Crips. Gunshot residue tests were consistent with appellant having handled or discharged a firearm, or being in the environment of gunshot residue. Robinson and Thomas were inactive members of the Pirus gang.